Welcome to my channel, where your adventure into the future starts right now. Step into a vibrant universe filled with groundbreaking technology, breathtaking alien landscapes, and exhilarating sci-fi narratives that challenge your imagination. From daring explorations of distant galaxies to haunting journeys through dystopian societies, we uncover the most captivating stories and innovative ideas that will shape the world of tomorrow. Subscribe today and join us on an incredible intergalactic voyage that promises to inspire and thrill. The quest to push the boundaries of medical science has been a constant throughout human history, but the challenge of healing injuries that were once thought to be beyond repair had never been as profound as when humanity began its foray into space. As Earth's civilizations developed and technology progressed, medical advancements allowed doctors to treat injuries and diseases that would have been fatal just a few decades ago. The ability to heal was always framed within the context of human needs, but as humanity expanded across the stars, it became increasingly apparent that Earth's medical model was insufficient for a rapidly diversifying galactic society. The birth of the first multi-species hospital was not just a leap forward in medicine, it was the next step in understanding that life in the galaxy could not be contained by the limits of one species' physiology or knowledge. It marked a turning point where the principles of healing transcended species boundaries and became universal. As humanity began to explore the galaxy, it encountered new life forms, some humanoid, some more radically alien, with biology and biochemistry vastly different from Earth's. The early days of contact with these species were filled with wonder and terror in equal measure. First contact scenarios were both peaceful and violent, as misunderstanding and differing perspectives on medicine, injury, and healing often led to conflict. The early settlers, researchers, and explorers came to understand that treating the alien species' injuries and ailments was not as straightforward as using human medical technology or applying the same biological principles that governed human health. While human doctors had learned to treat broken bones, infected wounds, and diseases that plagued Earth's population, they were utterly unprepared to treat creatures whose biology could differ radically from anything found on Earth. In the initial stages of space exploration, medicine was still largely human-centric. Humans continued to use Earth-based medical practices and technology when interacting with alien species. While the technology was powerful, there were numerous cases where human physicians could not figure out how to heal injuries or diseases specific to non-human species. Some species had regenerative capabilities far beyond what humans were capable of, while others lacked basic biological functions that humans took for granted, such as a circulatory system. A broken leg in one species might cause no harm, while the same injury in another could lead to death. Similarly, certain species could tolerate pathogens that would be fatal to humans, and vice versa. The medical divide became even more complicated when considering the psychological needs of species whose mental health was governed by completely different cognitive structures, or who experienced pain, stress, or illness in entirely foreign ways. The challenge grew even more pressing when humans encountered species whose biology included entirely foreign principles. Take, for example, the Eldar, an ancient species with a complex neural structure that was capable of telepathic communication and shared experiences. A typical neural injury to a member of this species could cause not only physical pain but also destabilize their entire mental state, causing their communal consciousness to fragment. The complexity of their needs required a completely new model of care. Meanwhile, species like the Grendlorians, large, highly insectoid creatures, lacked any form of traditional body structure, with exoskeletons, multiple sets of limbs, and a circulatory system that operated on a complex mix of chemistry and hydraulics. Their bodies had evolved on a planet with radically different gravitational forces and atmospheric compositions. Treating injuries to their bodies required understanding their unique biochemistry, which was nearly impossible for Earth-trained physicians to comprehend at first. It was clear that humanity's medical model, though extraordinarily advanced for human physiology, was not adequate for a galaxy where species varied widely in form, function, and need. As interspecies contact increased, the need for a universal, multi-species approach to medicine became undeniable. At first, the solution seemed as if it would be an impossible one. How could any single hospital, any single team of doctors, be expected to understand the biology of every species? Human doctors, while highly trained, were still rooted in Earth-based practices. The cultural divide was enormous, with alien species often too proud to admit they needed assistance from a race so recently emerged from its own struggles. Yet, this was not a situation that could be ignored. Just as early humans had begun to unify their disparate regions and cultures, a new unifying force emerged in medicine: the concept of multi-species healthcare. The vision for a multi-species hospital was born from necessity and innovation. The first hospitals designed to treat multiple species operated in the form of specialized medical facilities on major intergalactic space stations. These early attempts were piecemeal at best, offering only basic care for a limited range of species. However, as humans and aliens continued to share space on trade routes, in the colonies, and on space stations, the realization grew that medical treatment needed to adapt to the diversity of life forms inhabiting these regions. And so, after decades of research, experimentation, and trial and error, humanity succeeded in building the first truly multi-species hospital. The initial goal of the multi-species hospital was to heal injuries that were once considered incurable, particularly those that crossed species lines. Some injuries, like broken bones or torn ligaments, could be treated using advanced human medical techniques, but many others were species-specific in nature. Healing these injuries required understanding the underlying biology and biochemistry of each species. No single medical approach could work across the board, so the hospital would need a mix of human expertise, advanced technology, and the knowledge of alien species themselves. The hospital's first major breakthrough came in the form of a universal diagnostic system. Traditional medical diagnostics, whether on Earth or elsewhere, were based on the idea of analyzing symptoms, conducting tests, and comparing results to established norms. For a human physician, this process was familiar and structured. But when the hospital began receiving alien patients, it became clear that a different diagnostic system was required, one that could identify injuries or diseases that didn't fit into any recognizable category. A team of engineers and biologists worked together to design a multi-dimensional diagnostic system that combined human medical scanning technologies, telepathic communication techniques borrowed from the Eldar, and biotechnological interfaces that allowed non-humanoid species to interact with the equipment in ways that worked with their unique biology. This diagnostic system used both artificial intelligence and biological interfaces, allowing the hospital to analyze a species' physical condition, from the simplest bipedal humanoid to the most radically non-humanoid life forms. The machine could scan alien bodies for anomalies, fractures, pathogens, and other conditions, identifying biological markers and comparing them to the extensive databases of medical knowledge that had been collected from dozens of species. It could translate between vastly different medical languages, converting alien biological data into a format that human doctors could understand, and it could even detect patterns in an alien physiology that humans had never considered. In addition to the diagnostic system, the hospital relied on a team of medical professionals that was as diverse as the galaxy itself. Human doctors, who had long been trained in the art of healing, now worked alongside experts from other species, each bringing unique medical traditions and practices to the table. Some species had advanced regenerative capabilities, and their expertise in tissue regeneration became invaluable. The Thrynn, a reptilian species, had mastered the art of limb regeneration, and their biological expertise led to treatments that allowed for the regrowth of limbs in other species as well, including humans. The Thrynn's method involved the stimulation of specific growth factors and stem cells, creating a type of healing that transcended anything humanity had previously been capable of. One of the greatest challenges faced by the multi-species hospital was dealing with the psychological needs of different species. Pain, suffering, and trauma were experienced in myriad ways depending on an organism's cognitive structure. While humans might treat emotional trauma with therapy or medications, alien species often required vastly different approaches. Some species, like the Takari, experienced extreme psychological distress due to neural disruptions, but their form of communication was based on an intricate series of pheromones and chemical signals rather than verbal language. In response, the hospital had to develop a suite of technologies that allowed humans to communicate with the Takari and other species who lacked vocal cords or who communicated through non-verbal means. Psychological care was an equally important facet of this medical revolution. By incorporating a range of therapeutic techniques, including mind melds and telepathic counseling for species like the Eldar, the hospital ensured that all beings, regardless of their cognitive capacities or emotional systems, had access to healing. For species whose neurobiology was radically different from humans, the hospital adopted therapeutic holographic environments, which mimicked the sensory experiences of the species in a way that eased their minds, facilitated recovery, and supported their mental well-being. With its universal approach, the hospital became not just a place for curing physical wounds, but a center of interspecies cooperation and unity. No longer were the alien species confined to their own separate medical systems, they could receive treatment from a diverse, multi-species team. Diseases that were once considered incurable, such as the neurodegenerative disorder found in the Cromer, a gelatinous life form, could now be treated. The hospital's advanced bioengineering department developed genetically modified enzymes that could help break down and neutralize the proteins responsible for the condition, leading to a cure. As word of the multi-species hospital spread, it became a symbol of intergalactic cooperation. The idea of a place where beings from different planets and species could be healed under one roof spoke to the heart of the galaxy's growing interconnectedness. It was a place where humans and non-humans could come together, setting aside their differences, not only to share knowledge, but to heal one another. Over time, more multi-species hospitals were constructed on various space stations and colonies. The technology developed at the first facility spread across the galaxy, transforming healthcare across the cosmos. Species that once viewed one another with distrust now found common ground in their shared need for healing. With each new breakthrough, each new patient, the hospital's mission grew clearer. Healing was not just the province of one species, but of all life in the galaxy. This institution, born out of necessity, would go on to redefine the future of medicine in ways no one had ever imagined. It became a symbol of unity, an emblem of what was possible when technology, compassion, and cooperation transcended the boundaries of individual species. And in doing so, humanity had not only healed the injuries that were once thought incurable, but had also bridged the divide between worlds, fostering a new era of peace and collaboration across the stars.